All right, so we have a minute chart here, and we have some kind of a moving average. And what we're looking for, let's see here. Let me see if I can find a better spot. This is a pretty fast moving EMA. Here we go. Yeah, this is a good spot right here. So what we're looking for are extreme moves away from some kind of moving average. Right? It doesn't matter what the moving average is, but we're looking for an extreme move away from it. Right? So in other words, we're looking, for this extreme price difference here. And so when price moves too far away, the question is, how do we block trade signals in BloodHound? Yeah, how do we block those signals if price moves too far away? That's a pretty simple question. So with that, we'll get things started here. So you can see I already have BloodHound on my chart already. So to get into BloodHound, we're going to use the button up on the top of the chart here. And first thing I want to do is we want to put a file name in here, right? So we can see the name is blank here. So let's put a file name. I'm going to hit the change button. And I will just use last week's file name and adjust the date. All right. And then next thing, I always like to just jump right onto the logic tab here and start working in the logic board. So if you ever wonder what to call this green area, I call it the logic board. And so if you notice, you can't click in the logic template name area. So we have to hit the new button to create a new logic template. And now we have logic templates available to us just to work in. All right, so let's see. Let's give this some kind of a name here. Let's see here. All right, so we're going to block signals for 10 ticks from a moving average. All right. Well, so the first thing I'm going to need is just some kind of test signals here. So usually what I'll do is I'll use an inflection solver to generate just a bunch of test signals to work with. And so I'm going to look for a inflection in price, or in other words, just a price reversal. So this solver is simply going to tell us whenever the closing price reverses direction. So it just generates a bunch of random signals that I can use, for testing purposes here. All right, so there's my signal generator. So now we're going to need a comparison solver. And so what are we comparing? Well, as my arrow indicates here, we are comparing the the price, the closing price, or of course this could be any price you want to measure. If you wanted to measure the low of the bar to make sure that the low of the bar didn't get too far away from the moving average, that's fine as well. But in this case, I'm just going to measure the closing price of the bar to the moving average. So we're comparing these two pieces of data here. So with the comparison solver, let's see, input A, we'll set that to the price. And again, I'm just going to use the closing price of the bar. And then input B, that will be our moving average. So in this case, what's being used is an EMA 6. And there we go. Let's add the EMA down there. And don't forget to change the period to whatever moving average you might be using. And next step is let's put in our distances here. So I said I would try 10 ticks at first. And let's see if that works here. But before it's going to work, I'm going to set the outputs here to A equals B. And let's see, does it look like price is moving. Ah, there we go. Yeah, something doesn't look right. Let's see here. Let me refresh the chart. Let's see. Yeah, that is an EMA 6. Did I not put an EMA in here? And that is an EMA 6. Well, looks like I found another bug in BloodHound here. So definitely these early on workshops in Ninja 8 are gonna have some bugs here. And then we'll uncover some bugs, that I should say. But nonetheless, this is how you would do it. So before I get going too far, let me name this solver here. All right, so this is basically, well, price. I'll just say it's the closing price. We're looking 10 ticks to the EMA 6. Oops, not SMA, EMA 6. There we go. All right, let's get that name done. All right, there's a name. Okay, so basically, you set up a solver that'll tell you when the price is within a certain range of the moving average. Right, so again, the key here to getting this working is we're using the A equals B within 10 ticks. We're using this output here. Right, so using the A equals B output is what gets this to work here. Right, so all the other outputs are set to 0 except for the A equals B. And so that tells us when the closing price of the bar, so again, we're using the closing price, we're looking at the closing price of the bar. So when the closing price of the bar is within 10 ticks, we'll get an output. However, actually no, yeah, that's exactly it. So you want an output when price is close enough to the moving average. And you don't want an output when price moves too far away from the moving average, right? So the absence of this output, here, let me grab a rectangle here. So the absence of this output is what would block our trade signals coming in. So remember, this price inflection kind of represents the trade signals from the rest of your logic, the rest of your system, right? So when there's an absence of an output from this solver, that is what will block the signals. And then the last step is to use an AND node. Right. All right, so if we just look at the price inflection solver, let's see here. Well, yeah, we at least get one signal inside our little area here. So let's mark it with an arrow. There we go. So we do get at least one long signal in there. And then when I take this comparison solver, and there you go. And that blocks the output there, like so. And let's go see if I can find some other spots on that chart. Ah, here we go. Ah, there we go. Look, yeah, there's a huge movement away. And let's see if there's any signals there. Let's see. No, those two bars didn't have a signal on them. Okay, let's try again. Here. Okay, yeah, I found another spot here. So we have 3 bars here, right, where there's no output. And let's take a look at our signals. Yeah, let's all mark them here with an arrow. All right, so we have a long and a short signal inside of our little rectangle. But then if we take a look at the AND node, there we go. The signals are now gone. All right, so there you go. Pretty easy. Just need one additional comparison solver here. All right, so for input A, you're going to put in the price, the prices that you're looking for, and then in input B, that's going to be whatever moving average you were looking for, and then your distances. Don't forget to put the distances in there. And let's take, I think some logic will need to be adjusted if we're going to use the high and low price of the bar here. So let me just take a moment to test that out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this comparison solver that I made here, and I'm going to make a copy of it like so. And instead of using the closing price, I'll use the high and low prices here. And so I'll plug in the high and low prices here. Again, it doesn't really matter which price you set where. So yeah, it's not going to matter. You could put the low price for longs and the high price for shorts. You could reverse these prices, but I used high and low in this order just because typically longs, we're looking for highs in long situations, and in shorts we're using lows. It's just kind of the typical way of looking at trading and things like that. So all right, so let's get this new solver on here. And okay, yeah. So so looking at this, notice that sometimes, let's take a look at BloodHound's output here, right? Sometimes we'll get long signals or short signals only and no longs. Sometimes we'll get only long signals and no shorts. And let's see here, which is okay. So actually, let me kind of back up here. So if we are wanting to use the high and low prices of the bar, actually, the order in which not the order, but the price that we use is important here. So if you're wanting to block long signals, then you will need to put the price point in here that you're wanting to use when you're trying to block long signals. Oh, and same for short signals. If you're trying to block short signals, you need to determine what price of the bar we're going to use here. So in this particular case, so here, what this is going to do, and let me finish kind of getting this up here, right? So if we look inside of BloodHound, right, we see that there's no long outputs, right? So if the high of the bar, and let's get rid of these signals here. So if the high of the bar is too far away from the moving average, then what we want to see is in BloodHound, no output, right? No long output. And so that would block any long output there, right? And actually we did have, let's take a look here. Let me get an arrow back here and mark this. So we do actually have a long signal on that bar. So there's where our long signal's at. And if we look at BloodHound, right, there's no long output. So this long signal would get blocked. Right. And let's see here. Let's reverse these. And let me name this. So, all right, so this AND node is basically, what's coming out of this AND node is signals are being blocked using the closing price of the bar. And I'm going to grab another AND node, and let's plug our signals into it, like so. But this AND node, it'll be blocking signals based on the high or low price of the bar. And then let's plug this other solver into it. There. All right, and so there we go. So now this long signal was blocked because the high of the bar was too far away from the moving average. Right? But the short signals managed to get through. Now, if we wanted, so there could be even a third iteration, in which case, maybe if the high is too far away from a moving average, you want to just block all signals. Maybe you want to block even short signals as well. And so let's see, to do that, let me grab another AND node. So I'm going to try and cover all the different scenarios here possible. All right, so so if we want to use, so let's say if we want, if the let's see, let me back up here. Yeah, so if the high of the bar is too far away from the moving average, or if the low of the bar is too far away from the moving average. Let's say you want to use either one of these conditions to block all signals, right? So, so again, what's coming out of this AND node, if we take a look at this, right? Remember, it's only going to block long signals if the high is too far away from the moving average, right? But we can see it's not blocking the short signals, right? The short signals are getting through. So let's say, if we also want to block the short signals as well, both the long and the short signals. So that's what we'll do here in this AND node here. All right, so I have this AND node. So again, let's, so remember this comparison solver is basically what's doing the blocking here, right? So whenever when there's no output coming from that, whatever output is missing, that's the signal that gets blocked, right? So in other words, long signals are getting blocked here. Long signals are getting blocked here. Short signals would be getting blocked down here, right? But back over here, we can see short signals would be getting through. Since we have a short output, short signals will get through. So we need to remove the short signals when there's no long signals, right? And vice versa. If there's no short signals, then we need to remove the long signals, right? And that's how you block both long and short signals, both at the same time, right? So to do that, that's kind of what this long-short modifier is for, right? So this allows you to kind of tweak the outputs from a solver. So I'm going to take this long-short modifier and connect that in here. And let's connect this directly to the result node. And now with the long-short modifier, I can go in here and I can play around with the mode to figure out what mode will get rid of the other signals here, right? So if the shorts are absent, then what mode can I use to get rid of the long outputs? Or if the long outputs are missing, what mode can I use to get rid of the short outputs? And so you can just kind of mess around here and play with it, but the answer is product. We'll use the multiplication. So product, remember, is another term for multiplication. And so what it does is it multiplies the two outputs, right? So if one of the outputs is 0, so actually remember the long outputs, there were no long outputs, right? The long outputs were 0. So you take 0 times the short outputs. So 0 times anything is always 0. So that's how product always strips away the other side of the output, right? So if there's no long output, then it's going to remove the short output because 0 times something is always 0. Right? Same thing for the short output. If a short output is missing, that's it. Yeah, over here the shorts were missing. So if the shorts equals 0, well, 0 times any long output is always 0. Right? So there you go. Just some simple math there to get rid of it. So let's take a look at this AND note here. Yeah, all right. So there you go. There's our signals inside this area. And if we connect the long short modifier up, there you go. Signals are gone. All right. So that should cover all scenarios there for you, Eva. This question was already addressed in an earlier workshop, but Scott wanted to make some modifications to it. A quick background on what the question is here. So the conditions are, right, we have two moving averages here. And when the moving averages cross, that identifies a bar here, right? So it identifies, basically a crossover bar. And what's needed is we want to track the high of that bar, right? The high of that crossover bar. And so what's missing is a specific indicator that tracks the price points of that crossover bar, right? So just like a swing indicator tracks the low of the bar for when a bar makes a swing low, right? A swing indicator tracks the low of that price. Like over here, when price made kind of this swing high, a swing indicator is what's tracking that high price going forward when a swing high is made, right? So the swing high is the condition. So the swings indicator identifies the swing point condition and then tracks that price going forward. So we also need an indicator that tracks the crossover condition, and then it locks on to the price of that bar, and then plots that price forward in time. Right? The min and max indicators do the same thing, right? The min and max indicators track, the highest high of X bars back, and the min indicator tracks the lowest low of X bars back, right? So again, it's an indicator that's doing the price tracking, right? So BloodHound is not a price tracking indicator, right? You need very specific logic to identify what condition are you wanting to track, right? Every condition is different. So you'll need an indicator, that identifies that condition and then tracks the price going forward. Right. So that's what's missing is, I don't think anybody has built an indicator that identifies crossover conditions to then track the price points of that bar where the crossover of two moving averages occur. Right? So you'd have to take something like the min indicator or a swings indicator and kind of modify it. So instead of looking for swing highs or tracking the highest high, it's modified to instead look for a crossover condition as the condition for tracking prices. So that's what's missing there. And then the same situation is true for bar 1. All right, so basically bar 1 can happen, anytime, any number of bars after the crossover bar. So bar 1 is basically the first bar where the closing price closes higher than the crossover bar. So again, let's see here. And okay, yeah, so bar 2 just needs to close higher than bar's 1 closing price. Yeah, so again, if bar 2 might take a couple of bars to happen, right? So you might get bar 1 and then price might retrace a little bit for a couple of bars before bar 2 closes higher than bar 1. So again, if there's a unknown number of bars between bar 1 and bar 2, then an indicator is needed to track those prices and extend them forward in time, just like the swing indicator and the min-max indicator do. Now, BloodHound can detect when bar 1 and bar 2 happen right after each other from one bar to the next. But if there's any number of bars in between them, then BloodHound doesn't know how many bars back to look. That's the problem is, if there's X number of bars between bar 1 and bar 2, BloodHound doesn't know how many bars back to look to get to bar 1. So that's why an indicator is needed to keep plotting the closing price for bar 1. Keep plotting it forward. So BloodHound will always have a plot of that closing price on every bar going forward in time. And then you can compare that plot to any bar that closes higher than that indicator's plot. So that's the situation here, right? So yeah, kind of bottom line is, if you have a unique condition that tells you I need to start tracking the price of a bar because some kind of unique condition happened, well, that's what indicators are for. Indicators are created to look and seek out unique conditions. And then BloodHound basically takes those conditions when they occur and then puts all the pieces together, right? But but BloodHound doesn't track prices. So that's what the indicator's jobs are for. So there. That's kind of what the situation is here. The reason why Scott's question can't be answered here. So, all right. So I guess hopefully all of you guys out there kind of learned a little bit more. Some of the things you can and can't do with BloodHound. So again, BloodHound does rely heavily on indicators, to look for specific conditions here, or definitely for tracking prices here. LATAM is looking to generate an exit signal when there's 2 higher highs below a moving average. Okay, yeah, so if you're below a moving average, looking for a 2 higher high to exit a long trade. All right, exit a long trade. So let's see what we got here. Yeah, let me put a different moving average on here. Something that'll be a little easier to find some higher highs and lower lows on the, I guess you could say, on the wrong side of the moving average. All right, yeah, let me just use something like a SMA, probably a 35 should do it. All right, yeah, I think that'll work fine. And so let me find some of these. Here we go. So if the bars are above a moving average, then we're looking for 2 lower lows. So there we can see the lows are getting lower and lower and lower. That would be one situation. And let's see, here we go. And if price is below a moving average, then we would be looking for 2 higher highs. Yeah, there we go. So we have some higher highs going on there. Yeah. There we go. Let's get those circled. Okay. Yeah, let's see here. We will need, no, I was thinking we might need the min and max or chameleon indicator. Yes, actually we will. Yeah, we're going to need an indicator tracking those lows here. Yeah, so let me get chameleon back on here. Actually, no. No, we don't need an indicator. So, yeah, let's get rid of this chameleon here. Okay. What kind of name to give this? All right, so this is an exit signal. If we get two lower lows above moving average, actually, yeah, let me reverse this here. So actually, if we get two higher highs below a moving average, that will exit a long signal. Or if we get two lower lows above a moving average, then that will exit short signals. There. In my naming convention, I always like to try and put the name for the long condition first, and then the name for the short condition second, if that's kind of warranted in the name there. All right, let's do the simple thing first. Well, that's fine. We'll find if the bar is above the moving average or if the bar is below the moving average. So I'm going to use a comparison solver for that. And let's give this a name here. All right, so we're looking to see if the bar is above or below. And in this case, it's actually an SMA 35. All right, so input B, that'll be our SMA. So let's go adjust this quickly to 35 period. There we go, that's done. All right, now input A, that's gonna be our prices. So how do we know if the bar is above a moving average or below it? Well, you look at the low price, right? If the low price is above the moving average, then you know the rest of the bar is above a moving average, right? And vice versa, if the high of the bar is below a moving average, then we know the rest of the bar is going to be below it. So let's change input A to price. So let's see here. So keep in mind we're generating exit signals. So let's see, let me color this here. All right, so this is going to be used to exit long signals here. Yeah, exit long signals. So actually, let me reverse this. So we want to generate a short signal. There we go. Let's put this on red. There. Yeah. So when price is below the moving average and we're getting higher highs, we want to generate a short signal to exit a long trade, right? As an exit signal to exit longs, we want to generate a short signal here. And we'll just color this one as well. All right, so let's see here. So if the high of the bar is underneath the moving average, we want to generate a short signal. So for the shorts, we're using the high price. And for longs, we're going to be using the opposite. So we'll just go put on low price there. And let's see. Yeah, our outputs look like they are correct. Yeah, so just kind of looking at the output right now, right? So whenever the bar is completely below the moving average, we're getting a short output here. Yeah. Whenever the bar is completely above the moving average, we're getting a long output here. And yeah, we can see here when the bars kind of touch the moving average, in some way, there's no output. All right. So there, that one's done. Okay. Now, I think this is kind of the key part of the question here is how do we find these two higher highs in prices, right? So basically, we're just looking for the bar high to step higher and higher for 2 bars. So we're going to grab a comparison solver to do this. Let's kind of zoom in here. And let's give this a name here. All right, so we're looking for a bar higher high and lower low. All right, so both of our inputs are going to be price. So let's set these to price. Price, there we go. And let's see. For higher highs, we're wanting to generate a short signal. So let's, so again, let's see, for the short, we're using the high price. So long is going to be the opposite. We'll set it to low. And same for input B. We're going to set the prices the same as input A. Right, so there we go. Now, so what we're doing here, let's scroll. Yeah, let me get my chart ready here. So what we're going to be doing is with this comparison solver, right? If this is the current bar, we're going to be looking 1 bar back, right? So that's how you know you just made a higher high, right? Just compare the current bar to 1 bar back. So input B is going to be that 1 bar back. So we're going to use a look back period of 2, like so. Look back period of 2, and then the look back process. So you notice we have a long look back process and a short look back process. Just keep that on single value. Right, keep that on single value. Now we need to get our outputs set correctly, because again, even though we're making higher highs, normally, right, a long output is typical when you're looking for higher highs, but we want to generate a short output. So so we're going to reverse these outputs here. So for the short output, we want A greater than B. Remember, A is the high of the current bar, B is the high of 1 bar back. All right, so remember, input A is our current bar with a look back period of 1, and input B, that's 1 bar back. Okay, so there, I've got my short output reversed, and right, so yeah, so there we go. We're getting a short output when a higher high is being made. Yeah, and of course, back here we can see we have a bunch of higher highs, right? A bunch of them. So. All right, now if we need 2 of these, we're looking for 2 of these in a row. As Vladimir has kind of alluded to, we can use a look back node. Right, so this solver is looking for a condition, right, which is a higher high, and we want to look for 2 of those conditions in a row. So that's when we can use a look back node. And a look back node, let's see, we don't want to use a displacement. We're going to set that to 0. And our look back period is going to be 2. And then the mode, right, is we want a minimum of 2 conditions in a row. So We want a minimum of 2 conditions in a row. So let's take a look at that look back node. And so, yeah, there we go. So there's our first higher high, right? There's the first higher high. And then here's the second higher high. And that's when we're getting the output, is on that second higher high. And then if higher highs keep getting generated, then we'll keep getting, right, an output as long as higher highs keep forming. So there we go. All right, and next step is let's grab an AND node and let's connect all this stuff together. There. And let's see what's going on here. Oh, yes, I didn't set my long output. So remember this comparison solver here that's looking at the bar higher highs and higher lows. I didn't set my long output. So let's set that long output there. Set that to 1. Okay, there. All right, and let's take a quick look. Yeah, so we know that we should be generating long signals here. And this, remember, these long signals, these are exit signals, so these will be used to exit a short trade. And let's see. Yeah, we got 2 lower lows right there as well. And yeah, let's see, we got a lower low there and definitely a lower low there. Great. So there we go. All right. So the top solver here is just making sure that the bar is completely on above the moving average or completely below the moving average, and then these nodes down here is what's detecting the higher highs and lower lows. So, all right, I'll leave this comparison solver selected here. So you guys, so Vladim can see the logic there. And let me take a look at the chat window, see if there's any questions on any of this so far. Oh, so all right. So Vladim is saying you're just looking for 2 bars to be above the moving average, and that's it. So you're not looking for higher highs and lower lows then. Oh, okay. Vladim, yeah, Vladim gets it. Okay, sounds good. Okay, yeah. So so to kind of modify this a little bit, if you're just looking for 2 bars to be completely above the moving average or completely below the moving average, yeah, we could just easily take a look back, connect that in. Here, let me name this. I kind of like to name these lookbacks. Let's see. All right, so this is looking for 2 minimum, and this also is going to be looking for a 2 minimum. And so if we take a look at this output here, there we go. Yeah, so here's our first bar that's completely above the moving average. And then on our second bar, completely above the moving average, there we go. We're getting a long output. So there you go. So this long output would exit a short trade using Raven or Blackbird, right? Of course, BloodHound doesn't exit trades. So, yeah, all right. And yeah, so let's see. Over here, we have our first bar completely below the moving average, and then our second bar. And looking over here, definitely some weird things going on here. And this next update coming out should actually be fixing these weird outputs here. All right. Yeah, so there's two ways to kind of look at it there. All right. Well, with that, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for your questions today. And, again, if you have questions for these workshops, please email them in. These workshops need your guys' questions to keep going. So you can email those in anytime, and sending a screenshot always helps as well. So, okay, guys, with that, hope to see you tomorrow in the Blackbird workshop. So if I don't see you tomorrow, then have a good weekend. All right, guys, bye-bye.